Hi, welcome back to the channel. G'day, g'day, as we say here in Australia. Well, some of us do, most of us don't. Anyway, today I'm going to talk about this Yashicaflex twin lens reflex camera, which I've only had for a couple of years probably. I did mention it in the first video of the channel. I've had it for a couple of years, but it's actually 68, perhaps 67 years old. And so it was born in 56, 57. And that makes it a pretty old camera. So I bought it because I wanted to get, I used to have medium format cameras. I had actually I had a Hasselblad at one stage, a 500 cm, I think it was. That was a beautiful camera when I was doing some professional photography. Different backs and things like that, but like an entirely different format. I think anyone who knows Hasselblads knows exactly what I mean. This is, well, the Yashicaflex in particular was, let's face it, let's be honest, it's a pretty well a copy of the Rolleiflex, which Rolle, I think, started manufacturing these in around 1929. And these were made by Yashica in Japan, or the company that's similar in name, probably early 50s, maybe 55, 56. I think they started making what I think was called the Pigeon Flex anyway. I don't know what the flex thing is. Everyone calls it that, and I've yet to find out actually what that means. So it's neither here nor there, probably. So let's a little bit about the TLR, twin lens reflex. It's twin lens. This is your viewing lens, and this is your taking lens. These had an inbuilt shutter system, so the actual lens, the shutter's within the lens, and that makes for an incredibly quiet system. I don't even know if you can hear it. I could probably. Let's try that. That's the entire sound. No flapping mirrors going back and forth, nothing else, no artificial sound to make it sound like a camera. It's a very tiny click. And when you're out in the streets with something like this, or even outside, you know, where the wind's blowing or not, you really can't hear it. And I know that because I used it the other day, and it's, you know, sometimes I'm even pushing down to see, did it go off? But of course it did. It's got a limited speed. It goes to 200, or whopping 200, 1/200, so 200th of a second, down to bulb. So there's a B section where you can basically hold the shutter release down and it'll just stay open for as long as you can. For that, you really want to use something like a cable release, which does fit in here just very gently, because it's actually not the correct one. And it goes on a bit of an angle, and I'm a bit wary of that. I'm going to look for a better one. And the other thing with this is it's locking at the moment. I've just got to, I think actually I just fixed it. And so that makes it very steady, no movement. And normally you'd probably have it on a tripod when you're doing that anyway. So the twin lens, well, not so much the advantage of the twin lens, but one of the challenges with the twin lens is there's a slightly different angle when you're viewing. Obviously you're viewing up here and you're taking down here. So for the most part, that doesn't make any difference. What you see in the screen, which we'll talk about in a sec, is what you get. However, when you are quite close to something, you get what's called a parallax error, which means that what you're looking at is not quite what the camera is seeing. So you just have to allow for that. And look, I think there's charts somewhere from memory about how to allow for that, but really you've just got to, you know, use your head and move the camera slightly to allow for that, or back off further enough. What are the features of the camera? Really, the way you use it is you look through the viewfinder. There's a ground glass, which you probably can't see very well, but what I'm going to do after this is clean the camera. So I'm kind of revitalizing to some extent, not giving it a major overhaul by any stretch of the imagination. I'm simply giving it a bit of a clean, because it's pretty old. It's showing tarnish in the metal parts. The leatherette's probably dirty, but it actually looks pretty good. So I'm just going to give it a bit of a clean. Some of the metal parts are again tarnished, where, for example, the camera strap is stuck on, and that's really a replating job. I don't know if I'll ever bother doing that. It would be nice if it was. It would kind of look like a Harley done up or something like that. Chrome plated parts, but I'd like to keep it, you know, as close to how it was originally. Where was I? Oh yes, the ground glass screen. There's basically a screen in there which is a reflection or the image shines on the bottom of the screen, which has got a slight, probably abrasion's not the right word, but it's roughened up. And that means that instead of clear glass where you wouldn't see, you can see the image on the underneath the glass. What people don't often talk about for some reason with TLRs is they're actually looking at a reverse image. So what you see on the right is actually on the left, and what you see on the left is on the right. And that takes a little bit of getting used to. Simply, well, it's just another thing to get used to, that's all. But it's kind of weird when you're moving the camera around and you realise that you actually should be going the other way. For focusing, you can focus on that, but it does have a flip-up screen, which is a little magnifier here. And you're looking down, and you would look down like that and focus your camera. Focus, you can get a really nice view on the screen, and then you flip it down. It doesn't matter because doesn't affect the camera at all. The other thing you've got where you're what they call I think it's called a sports finder, which you can flip the front down, and there's a little hole in the back, and you can go and look like that. Look at that. Isn't that intensely analog? How analog is that? And you can just flip that up again by moving that. There's just a slight catch there, and it flips up again. I saw someone talking about a Graflex. I think it was a Graflex 4x5 camera, press camera, and that's kind of exactly what they had as well. They had some of them just had like a square shape of metal, and that's your focus. Well, not your focusing, but your viewfinder kind of thing, which is probably really good for fast things. And I'm sure the guys and the ladies who are on the press team would be absolutely fantastic with that. And you could crop in anyway. We're not talking about filming Formula One cars, are we? We're just normally talking about snapping someone like a politician or something, and so it's all very quick. And they were remarkably quick considering the equipment they were using in the days and bulb flashes and things like that. Quite extraordinary, really. So don't complain about the digital cameras nowadays, or even other cameras, because we've got it good. We've got it really good. What else? Not a lot to them, actually. Very simple. I mean, these are quite a heavy. I lifted up a Rolly today, and it's pretty much the same sort of thing. It's quite a heavy thing because they're pretty well all. I mean, there's probably no. I'd say there's absolutely no plastics in this camera at all, apart from the film spool. So, to open it up on the bottom, you've got a little catch here, and you just flick the lever up. Whoops, didn't quite open that enough. And the back opens, like so. I'll show this. What I'm going to do is a different section here where I'm going to clean it, and you'll see a bit more about it. But really, basically, we've got the film loading spool up the top, and the loaded film goes in the bottom. I don't have anything, well, I probably do actually, but I can show that later. Basically, your film starts here and you wind it across the top. I'll show how to load it, perhaps another video when I go out and use it. So there's nothing much in here except the black box. And really, I mean, a camera is basically a device to hold the gap between the lens and the film plane, and everything else is just on top of that. Really, let's face it. Which is why something like a pinhole camera, which is really a cardboard box, a wooden box with a hole in it, is really the most basic camera. It's got some paper sometimes, or even film on the back, and a pinhole at the front. That's all there is. So, and they can produce some beautiful, soft for sure images that are just out of this world, really. They're completely different to our intensely accurate or resolved digital photos, which in my opinion, I think we've gone a little bit far because some of them are starting to look really creepily cartoon-like. That's just something. I've seen a few people starting to talk about things like that now. I think we're sort of going, maybe we've got a bit too much. It's all a choice. I mean, you can use a 61 megapixel sensor and crop down. What's it matter? But do we really need it to be that size? I think the sweet point for me in digital, and I know this is mostly film, that's what we call it, is probably around 24, something like that. So I think I might have said that in the last video. Really to wind on, there's a little film winder, film counter here, which is in red. It's a tiny little screen. I don't know why it's so small, but it's a tiny little screen, and basically you press a button and wind the film, or you press the button, wind a little bit, release, and it stops at the next film exposure. And but again, I'll show how to set that. It's got a little depth of field scale on the knob here. You probably can't see that. You can actually most SLR lenses and TLR lenses have that, really indicating at different apertures you've got a greater depth of field, and you can go okay between we'll say on this one f11 to f11. You've got a whole scale where you're going to get in, whatever it happens to be, 10 metres to 20 metres, and of course it goes up to infinity. So that's it. I mean, why do I like this camera? I like it because it's so basic. It maybe forces you, isn't quite the right word, but it forces you to take a slow approach with your photography and really compose. I mean, obviously, which I failed to mention, but in my head it's obvious, it's a 6 by 6 centimetre square image, which means compositions are really entirely different, and they have the advantages and the disadvantages. It's something about a square format which is really appealing, and which is unusual because, well, it's a bit odd because our eyes see more of a panorama, I guess, well, they do. We don't see as much this way as that way, probably from millions of years ago. We can see things hunting. Our eyes developed that way. So a square format is really different, and I thought about this the other day, it's really, I don't know, it's just a view where you look at it and it's everything's in a box. It's kind of like it's in a box, and it makes you really look at the image to a certain extent. It's probably generalizing, but for me it's a really knockout view. It's hard, even with things like horizons, lines, or seascapes and things like that, or landscapes. Why do you think that would be better in a panorama type style, or 4:3 or whatever it is scale? It just looks really good sometimes, and of course, you just play around with it. It doesn't matter what the format is really. And we've got every single format you can imagine, and you make of it what you will. So that's pretty well it for the Yashicaflex. This is a Yashicaflex A2, I believe. It's really hard, like most camera manufacturers from back in the day. Perhaps even now we'll find in 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, you just can't make head or tail of where they got the designations from. They didn't keep very good records, and there's dedicated enthusiasts online, thank goodness, who have websites about the Yashica, or Yashica everything, or TLR everything, and one particular brand, and they've hunted down as much as they can sometimes where these numbers come from. Sometimes I know with some of the Olympus cameras I've got the sequences stopped and started again randomly, and nobody really knows what happened. I guess the people that do know have passed on because they're quite old. It is what it is, but it's a fair guess. It's 67, 68 years old. Nothing wrong with it at all, I hope. So I'm going to, in the next video, the next video about this, in this sequence, I'm going to go out, load some film, go out and try it out and test it out. Hopefully there's no light leaks. Everything works fine. I know the shutter works fine. I don't know how accurate it is. I'll probably take 1 or 2 shots just to do a test sheet. So I'll be using black and white, probably FP4, something like that. Depend on the light conditions. I'll do a couple of exposures just to test the film speed, to see how that's going in this camera and in the development system I'll be using. So I'll develop the film here, or wherever I am. I'm moving around a bit, so I've got a portable everything. I'll be using probably some Ilford Sol, probably Ilford Developer, and the rest of the gear. I'll show you how to do that, how to load 120 film in the Patterson tank, and how to develop it. And we'll see, and probably make a contact print because I don't have a 6x6 enlarger. And I've just bought a enlarger which is 35mm. It's over there. I'm looking over there because it's over there, and I'm going to talk about that in another video. So 6x6 enlarger would be wonderful, but I don't know whether I've got the space I don't know whether I've got the space to transport it around, and they are a little bit delicate. And why I'm saying that is I actually move around a fair bit in my house location. So everything everything here, what I do here is temporary, which is why there won't be a consistent view of the house I'm in, and probably lighting will change. I've got a big window there, which is great, but it's an incredibly dull day here in Perth, Australia, Western Australia. I've got a light up there. Everything else moves. But really all you need is a camera and some sort of light and an audio system, of course, which I've got here. So that's about it from me. And so I'll be doing a sequence about, this is the first one. The next one will be loading the camera and taking some photos and working my head around how to do that, because I'm new to this sort of thing on YouTube. And the third sequence will be loading the film in a developing tank and developing it and just talking about what the results are. So I hope you enjoy that. I hope you've enjoyed me rabbiting on about this camera. I'll go through some other cameras I have. I've got a few other, what have I got? Two? Yeah, two other film cameras, and we might even cover the few digital cameras I have. This channel will be mostly about film. But I'm not, I love film, I love film cameras, but I'll just use whatever I love to use. And I think, well, I'm not saying you should do that, but I think that's just a great attitude, isn't it? Right. So, thanks for listening, thanks for watching. Subscribe, please, if you want to see more about film in particular and old cameras to a certain extent. I'm not going to buy new cameras and test every single one of them. What would I do with them? I'd love to, but I don't have a stable house environment at the moment just to store all this stuff, and I'd rather be using cameras than collecting them. So how many cameras can you use? And as someone who's practiced guitar not very well and can't play very well over the years, I know the problem with that is how many guitars can you have? And the answer is as many as you can afford. So it's a bit like cameras, really. I forgot to mention this one. I have no idea how much I paid for this. I think it was something like 200 or 300 Australian dollars, which, at the time was probably 120 to 200 US dollars. These cameras are still around at these prices. Rollies are 900 Aussie dollars. I still think that is an incredible bargain if you get a good one. But I guess with a nearly 7-year-old camera, there's a chance that the things aren't quite, may not be right. It depends how they're looked after. I believe this one is good. As far as I can see, the light seals are great. Anyway, I'm rabbiting on. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and look forward to next time.